Uh,
Hi, everybody. This is the Rotary E Club of Silicon Valley. And every week we bring you the stories of people around the world who are making their communities better locally, globally, and digitally. We're part of Rotary International, over 1.2 million people in 36,000 clubs all over the planet. Our particular club, the Rotary E Club of Silicon Valley, is is an international one, an online one, and an asynchronous one. And so, if you are a person who's quite busy but loves the international service that is characteristic of Rotary's efforts globally, then you might want to take a look and learn a little bit more about us. We'd love to have you take some time to get to know our club and the good that we are making happen in the world. Tonight, I say, as we are recording in the evening, we have as our speaker Aishwarya Rai. She is in India. She is part of an organization called Sankalp. She is the project coordinator, and we are excited for her to be speaking with us. If you want to read the full description and bio, you are welcome to do so. Pause, scroll in the appropriate direction on our podcast page, YouTube page, or Rotary page, and you will be able to read that in detail before coming back and catching Aishwarya's remarks. Aishwarya, what a pleasure it is to have you with us. I hand the mic over to you.
Thank you so much, Tristan. Hi, everyone. I'm Ashwarya. I'm working at Empower Foundation, and I'll be talking to you about our program Sankalp, which is our program for entrepreneurship development in India. So, I'll be discussing to you about these things. These are the areas I'll be talking to you about. So, to begin with, I would want to tell you a story of a young girl, Karishma. So, Karishma grew up in Garmukteshwar. This is a town which is very famous for its bamboo furniture. So, cane and bamboo furniture is a household thing which everyone around it is town. If you go around, you can see is involved in. So now, this woman, when she learned about her uncles selling this cane furniture globally, she became very excited to become an entrepreneur and sell this as well. But this was not easy as she did not have the right resources and access to start her business. This disheartened her, and she learned about our program Sankalp, and she enrolled there. She learned a lot about the business management skills she requires to run her business. And now she has started her own cane furniture business, and she's doing fairly well. She has it on different social media platforms and Flipkart, Amazon. So, in this story, one important element is how she became the seller of these things, retailing cane bamboo furniture. Because if you go around, you'll see that women are engaged in making of the furniture, but they're not responsible for selling it. This is usually done by the male counterpart. So this is what we do at Sankalp. We train this young woman to, learn business management. So one, I would want to tell you about the issue of concern here. It's about training adult women and why should we train adult women at all. So one thing we need to understand is if you look at the global gender gap report of 2024, you'll understand India ranks 129th out of 146 countries, which again brings us to the question that why is there such a gender imbalance? So this begins right before a woman is born. Even before a girl child is born, people feel that she's a burden for the family because they have to pay dowries. Her educations are limited, her skill opportunities are limited. There's a lot of cultural norms around her getting married, and even inheritance. Even though we have property laws in place, women do not usually ask for their properties because because of the cultural restrictions and the power of like having economics is handled usually by the male counterparts. So this limits her socio-economic developments and creates the digital divide and economic divide for women. So why we started and when we started. So our program Sankalp was launched during the COVID pandemic. This was a time when women faced more job losses and the families were struggling. They wanted to start something, but they lacked the skills and education. So our program was started to support women to start up sustainable businesses and guide them through handing them a right education and resources to do so. So, why does our support matter? So, one important element is to understand that marginalization is experienced in intersections. So, we try to identify the most disadvantaged women who are migrants, who come from disadvantaged sections, and uh, so that we can support them. Because again, one challenge is often business is seen as a like male dominant field, like men involved more, get involved more in businesses than a woman does. So she has limited access to professional network. She does not get a lot of support to set up her business. So here I would want to tell you a story of Meena. So Meena is a woman from Ghaziabad, Uttar Pradesh again. So um she was married very early. So one major challenge she had was like when her husband passed away, she had to look after her family and even educate her children. But since she lacked the education and skills, she had to struggle. She started multiple businesses but failed. Now, this led her to question what she was doing in her life. But once she enrolled to the program, she learned the different business management elements, how she can access credit, where she should do what she should do. And one big encouragement in her life was her peers. When she had seen other women, doing well in their businesses, being so passionate about their life, she also got the courage to restart her business. Now she's selling she's making baby cribs and she's selling it on different platforms, Amazon, Flipkart, Meesho to begin with. And she now plans that she wants to make her business bigger, make her give her children a better life. So we have now. I would want to tell you the timeline of our project. We started with GIZ. This where we trained over 347 women. Then we had Install project where we trained over 108 women. We had the German Embassy project from 2022 to 2024 where we trained over 395 women. We currently have two more projects, Siddhi and Expedia, where we are training another set of 250 and 125. So, like I told you, through these various stories, the aim of the project is to support women get access to education, business education, and get the right resources to start a sustainable business. So, what all are we offering? We are offering them with 100 plus hours of business skill training. This skill training includes training them on financial management, training them about marketing, advertising, understanding customer relationship, understanding digital marketing. We provide them access to mentorship. This is through a one-on-one training done with an industry expert who guides them on how they can start and set up their enterprises. We provide them support with market linkages. We help them with networking. We also have our own in-house application called Yuvti. This application helps women to get access to different business and marketing tools. Apart from it, it also gives them access to returnable grant, which is a feature which was started during GIZ, that we give women a credit amount, and once she returns the money, we give it back to another woman to start her business. This gives them some credit worthiness because they can later helps them get loan from formal institutions as well. So again, we also help them build as like assistance through an online presence. So these are pictures of the classroom sessions. We try to encourage some kind of classroom activities because we are again working with a set of adults, and it's important that the classroom sessions are more engaging. These are pictures of a few fairs and exhibitions and workshop practical orientation. This is a picture of an eco-dine workshop to train women how they can, create their businesses better. Again, a few pictures of the exposure visits we organize for them. So we try to keep the education very interdisciplinary. We try to tell them. So this is on crochet. Again, do organizing sessions on mental health so that women understand the different elements, not just business education. This is a session on green businesses because we try to help them to create like understand sustainability and how they can give back to the environment as well. We have sessions on different human rights, such as this is a snippet of a session on posh law. This is a picture of the mentor session, the one-on-one industry session, which I mentioned earlier. uh, this is a picture of the products created by our women. These are some shawls, some mushroom cultivation phenyls, some handmade soaps, so pottery bags, like different kind of products created by our women. Um, Again, a few more cane furniture, jewelries, and other things which the women are making. So, what impact have we created over the years? So, uh, we have reached over 1,200 women. Over 700 women have been able to successfully like set up their businesses, because most of the businesses we had were informal in nature. Now they have formal businesses. We have over 60 women who have received interest free loans. We have over more than 50 women who have set up green businesses. This is something new we started. We're trying to tell them to reuse things they have in their household and try to do it. And in just 2 years, we have seen them, showing keenness towards it. We have over 350 women who have now set up, who are now using social media to grow their businesses, because even though women face mobility restriction, internet has become a place where they can, which they can use to give themselves an economic boost. So, why are we trying to sustain the program? So, of course, we're trying to reach more communities. We're trying to reach to more rural women and train over 10,000 of women over the next 5 years. We're trying to bridge the gap which women face. We're trying to increase their access to finance, because if you even see the UN records, you understand that rural women get a lesser access to credit. We're trying to bridge the economic gap because women earn lesser than men globally. So these are the things we are trying to do through the program. Lastly, just to end, I have a story of a woman, Bashira. So Bashira is a woman who lives in a slum, Sangam Vihar in New Delhi. So when she came to a program, she was very anxious on what she could do, what changes she can bring in her life. Until one thing we discovered about her: you show her anything, she could create anything. She made this beautiful bridal wear for women. She made bags, and anything you show, she used to make it like anything you name it, and she was there, because she grew up very passionate as a child, painting, doing different things. And when she became a part of our program, she got the encouragement to start her own boutique in Sangam Vihar. She's a important alumni as well for us, because she's now training other women in her community learn stitching, and she does it for free or charging them very nominal prices, so that they can learn stitching and find their voice through their passion. So this is all we do at Sankalp. Thank you for listening to me, and thank you so much.
Wow, Aishwarya, thank you so much. This is a wonderful story. I am excited to have us engage in some Q&A. I'm going to have you click on that stop share there, exactly. And I'm going to introduce the group that we've got. So from our club in Houston, Texas is Rory Olson. From here in the Bay Area is Raj Bandari. And joining us from Eugene, Oregon, and the Rotary Club of Eugene Metropolitan, Heather Edwards, longtime friend of the club. My name is Rushton Hurley. I'm in San Jose, California. Aishwarya, so many cool things happening with Sankalp. It is wonderful to hear about a program with such a reach, and to have reached in only a few years 1,200 women is very exciting. Can you talk a little bit about the partnership with the German embassy? I saw that was one of the partnerships that was especially strong for allowing you to reach more women in India.
Okay, so we had started in like this was the time I joined actually. So 2023 German embassy project, and so I'd seen how this women, what skills they have and everything. And the thing is, we had a good support from them. We had experimented, like I said, this was the time we experimented with the green businesses part. We had seen like the support was very good for us, because actually they encouraged the women. We had a lot of visits from the embassy, and they were very excited to see the products, and the women became very excited to create new things, launch the businesses. So I think since our program did fairly well in the first year, we had again a renewal from them, though they do it just once in a year. That's what we were told. Like they provide the funding for just 1 year, but so but they renewed the program for another year, and we were able to do it in 4 locations, because during the first year we did it just at 3 locations in Delhi and NCR, and during the second year we did it in 4 locations, so that helped us impact more women.
All right. So we have a question from Heather, a little bit about one of the terms that you use as a part of your presentation. So Heather, go ahead. And you muted. Yeah.
There we go. Thank you. I haven't heard of POSH law. Can you tell me what that is and what that means?
Oh, so it's a protection against sexual harassment at workplace laws for women. So women often, like it's an Indian law we have. Basically, the law helps them against any form of sexual harassment they might experience at the workplace. So we just try to make them aware of the different laws that are in place in case they face any human right violations at their workplace.
Excellent. Thank you.
Aishwarya, how do the women get chosen to participate in the projects at Sunculp?
So first thing we do is we have a mobilizer, which is a important team member for us, who goes to the community, tries to identify women who either have like some kind of skills. So someone might just have know how to do stitching, or either they have a small business, a very small business. The community. So that's how we try to identify the women. Second, we ask them to come to our centers where we run the classroom programs, and we have a facilitator, the teacher, who's an important part of the program, because she tries to identify them, understand if they're keen to run their business, because again we have limited resources. We want to give it to the right woman who you will actually go on to do it, use the benefits from the program to support herself and grow. So that's what we do, and then we have another set of interview, which is done at a second interview level we do, and we do an entrepreneurship test as well. We try to identify what entrepreneurship capacity she has. So that test also involves trying to understand how much finance she understands, how much she understands about marketing, how much she's courageous to operate a business, because again it's a very risky thing. If you tell anyone to start a business, they would feel very scared. So see, these are few things we try to identify during this selection process, and then a final round of interview to understand how much they have done on their own, like how much research have they done, what all they're planning, and that's how we enroll them to the program. It's a big process for us as well, but again, with the limited resources we have, and we can support only some women, so we try to find the ones which can actually impact themselves and even the society.
Well, it certainly seems you're having success with the people that you're training. And Raj has a question about how you're measuring success.
Hi, Ashwarya. It's actually related to what you're just saying at the end. My personal experience has been starting something new, starting something fresh can be very difficult. But it seems like people are, once they have the access that you're making available, are really thriving. I was wondering if you could speak a little bit about there's so much to the program, it sounds like, everything from the credit to the uh, uh, financial management of a company training, and even more training than that. Could you speak a little bit about what you think that if you really had to cut it down to one ingredient, do you know what it is that's really leading to such success levels, right? So um, uh, the population you're talking about, the people you're working with, are probably competing against other people who have access coming from the world outside of the program that you're able to provide. Can you talk about what you think helps them compete? Is it a sense of, I won't give you the answer, but I'm curious, is it coming from the individual, or is it coming from maybe access to one of the parts of the program that you think is particularly powerful? And then the second is there a way for us to buy the products that you showed in the last couple of slides, all the way from across the
Yes, I
small
think
ocean? Yeah.
Yes, you definitely can, because they would be very happy. Of course, like they get a lot of encouragement if people buy their products. I mean, that's one thing. Can you please repeat your question? I think I missed it a bit because of the low bandwidth in my place. Can you
Sure.
just repeat it for me?
You talked about a lot of access that you provide the people that are working with the program, including credit and financial management education, and there was some more to that education. And I was just saying, it seems like people are really benefiting from it. Would you be able to say, let's say you had to start one day and said you only had one day with these people, what do you think the focus of that day would be? What the topic for that day would be?
I think most important thing to tell someone to do a business is like when you see this woman, you would see that someone might not be very sure about what they want to do and all. But one thing you would want to identify is if they have the right skills. So that's what we try to find out. If she has the right skill, then you can push her to do it. Like even if I have a one day, I would just try to identify what skills you have, what you have to offer, and then based on that you can of course curate like what all can be done for it, because as I'm a social worker, so one important thing I have understood that you have to understand, though we're training 30 women in a batch, we have a woman, everyone's need is different. When you're working with a 40-year-old, she might not be as comfortable using the social media platform which I mentioned earlier. She might be more comfortable running a business from her home, writing it down on a regular paper. That's okay, but again you have to identify what skills she wants and what like is she like more does she have the courage to go forward and have the risk taking ability. So I think that's one thing we try to curate the program and identify. I think that's where the facilitators also play an important role, is to help them identify their own skills and then encourage them. So that's what I think leads to the success of these women.
Yeah, the story about the boutique in Delhi sounded really cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Aishwarya, I'd like to ask about the second story that you told as a part of your presentation, the story about Meena, the widow. So, is it especially difficult for widows to start businesses in India at the moment, or is it no different for widows? Is there a cultural reason that it might be especially difficult?
I think what was difficult in her story, because I had my interaction with her as well, is like she got married very early. She was like maybe 15 or 16 when she got married. So she had not seen the outside world as much, not having education. She had the skill, of course, she had learned stitching from her mother and other like women in her family, but she did not know how to market it or advertise it, or because I think that's where I would like understand how this woman face challenges is they do not understand how the world functions. Like one thing I think she told me about is getting cheated by this middleman. So this person who was helping her start her business very recently actually went and he told her something, she believed him, and then because of that she faced a lot of loss in her business, then which I told you like in her story that she faced a lot of losses in her business initially is because trusting people, not understanding how the outside world works. So I think that's a major challenge she has. And again, widows, I think, would face a lot of cultural restrictions because uh, like society does not accept them as much. But I think it's more for her story particularly, it was more about her not experiencing or understanding the outside world.
Okay. Well, it seems that one of the things that you provide is a community. Do the women who are starting businesses, who are learning the entrepreneurship skills that Sunkelp teaches them, do they get a lot of time with each other to share ideas, to talk about the things that they find successful, to support each other when they're dealing with the kind of challenges that Meena did when she learned she'd been cheated? Is that community an important part of how Sunkelp works?
Yeah, because we try to not only the RG we provide, there's again some set of loans which are given to self help groups through the government. So like when women sit down and they do understand that, if they can be 7 or 8 women, they can be part of an SHG which can help them get credit. But again, the encouragement is there as well. Like in a set of 30, you might have 3 or 4 women who are more enterprising than the others. So I think when they see that their peers are so engrossed and so, like, keen to build their businesses, they also get the courage that, okay, if she's doing it, why don't I try something and do something else? So I think that becomes an important part through the peer learning we try to encourage.
Well, it's exciting to see the successes that are part of it, and maybe you can talk a little bit about the app that you mentioned. So there's the Yufti, I think
Yeah.
you pronounce it.
Yeah, so Yufti is our in-house app only. So when we started this app earlier, we used to use another website to onboard the alumni group so that we can provide them with skills or whatever they require. So this application majorly was designed. We have a portfolio feature. So we ask them to put down the products so that when anyone is visiting the website, because again, setting up a business on Amazon and Flipkart or other platforms is a little time taking. Yufti is fairly easier for them because we tell them that, you can have a set of your products available to any one of your customers. Like if you want to show that this is all I create, you can use the app to show it. The second thing we do through the app is providing them free workshop on different topics, like WhatsApp for business, Instagram for business. We have so these are different kind of workshops we do. There's also industry based workshops. So we also have women who have been trained in beauty. So we have workshops for them to know more about beauty. Of if say some woman is in retail, we have workshops on that. So it's different type of industry workshops. And like one two more things which I had mentioned is the business and marketing tools which we offer through the platform. Is they have a different it we have a Canva kind of setup there, so they can go and create posts there. They can edit posts. It's editable to put on their story to say that, let's say they have a 20% discount at their boutique, so they can easily write it down and use it. So we train them on using these things because, again, social media is one thing we see women being very excited to learn. Because I think the major challenge is the mobility restriction. Women do not, like most of the women want to do the business from their homes, and so that no one stops them from, starting their business.
Well, there's so many different ways that you tailor the education of the entrepreneurial kind of program to the women. It's very exciting to hear about. I'm going to wind things down in terms of our time, and then hand it back to you for the final word. A special thanks out to Casper, our member in Delhi, who is with the German embassy, and the good work that their organization is doing to help others in the community there in India. I'd also like to thank all of you who have taken the time to watch the recording or listen to the podcast. It's very much within our mind frame for what we do that these stories of people doing good work by pooling their time and talent to make great things happen with the people around them. It's the kind of inspiration that we all need, and I think it's exciting for us to be able to highlight these stories in our club, and hopefully you will share these recordings with others. As we always like to do, we hand it back to our speaker for the final word. So, Aishwarya, what would you like people to have clear in mind as they finish the video or the podcast?
So I think the most important reason I connect with the program is to understand how, economic development of women is over, like interrelated with her complete uh, social development as well. So, like, if she is economically empowered, she has more power in her hands to take control of other aspects in her life. So I think being a part of this program helped me understand those things, apart from the cultural and social challenges which I mentioned to you earlier. So I think it's a privilege that I got to share our story and what we are doing, and I'm very grateful that you took the time and listened to what we have done over the years. So thank you so much.
Well, it is certainly our pleasure, and we hope that we will be able to follow the progress of Sankalp. And for all of you who have been watching and listening, thank you. We will see you next week.